Okay guys, thoracic extension on a foam roller. This is an exercise that's pretty standard. It's probably the first thing I'll get most people doing when they come in to the gym. It's the first part of the foam rolling. But it's something it's very basic. It's a very small exercise, but people still tend to get it a bit wrong. And the confusion seems to lie in what the movement is. I mean, because it's put in the foam rolling section because you've got a foam roller, and so you do it with your soft tissue work. But the extension is actually a mobilisation drill, right? And while we're in that position, we sort of do both. We do some soft tissue work and some mobilisation into thoracic extension. I'll show what I mean. So, teaching the extension first. Basically what we do is we get people to find a spot. Generally higher up the thoracic spine is going to be a little bit easier, not as tender to start with, and we sort of work our way down, maybe hit 3 or 4 different spots, a couple of vertebrae apart as we go down. So the movement is this. So as you can see, it's not a very big movement. And what I'm looking to do here is really separate my thoracic spine from my lumbar spine. And where a lot of people will get this one wrong is because they're very stiff through the thoracic spine, where we're trying to give them mobility, and they're quite hypermobile in the lumbar spine, where we're trying to improve their stability, they generally work towards those weak points. So what will happen is they'll lay on top of their stiff thoracic spine. That doesn't really move, but instead they start arching through the lower back here. And it looks like they're getting thoracic extension, but really they're just going into this lumbar extension, right? So what I like to do, I don't really like this elbows out position because that sort of engages the lats and it tends to encourage that lumbar extension. So instead, we bring the elbows in, so you're almost like covering your own ears. Bring the elbows in, which also will pull the scapula apart. So we get that little bit of deep soft tissue work in there for a moment as well. Now that basically increases our thoracic flexion, and then we need to hold that tight. We engage the abs. We go into some posterior pelvic tilt by squeezing the glutes and tucking under. That's going to lock that lumbar spine in. You're going to round like you're in a crunch position, and then hold that and try to sort of reverse that crunch position without anything here moving. Right, if you do it right, you'll get a couple of little pops and cracks, save you some time at the chiropractor. And then as you go, you can shuffle up, hit down a little bit lower, right, and it starts to get a bit tender as you go down, but it will kind of free up. And don't go too low, then you start getting to lumbar spine, you start encouraging that further lumbar extension. Right, so that's the mobilisation part. Generally what I'll tell people to do is go maybe 3, 4, 5 passes over in one spot, move down 1 or 2 vertebrae, 3 to 5 passes again, go down again 3 to 5. So you're going to get sort of 10 to 15 reps there. And that's all thoracic extension, so that's a mobilisation drill. Right, but then while we're here, we've got the foam roller out, we're then going to lead into our soft tissue work, and then we can start the soft tissue work. So from there to actually dig into try to do our SMR, our soft myofascial release, for some of that upper back tissue area. Right, what we do with that is different. We bring the hips up off the ground, because now what we're looking to do is place pressure onto that tissue. I like to cross my arms over like I'm hugging myself, again, to spread the shoulder blades, to get in there deep, and use leverage. Get your hips higher than your shoulders so you can put extra pressure on. Right, and we can look for any tender spots right between the shoulder blades. Then we can also get out on the side a bit. Right, the grid's a bit shorter, so I might have to move over to favour one side. Get all that stuff on the back. Probably get a bit of infraspinatus, I might get a little bit of lat, a bit of rhomboid. Doesn't matter, I'm just looking for any tender spots. Find a spot, if I get a good one, kind of hang on it, maybe just palpate slightly, dig in, move on. Look to the other side, right, we can roll right around then to the lats, and then we can come further down and actually roll the lower back, but we don't mobilise the lower back. So if people are feeling a little bit tender there, sometimes some soft tissue work can help. Oops, your shirt tucked under it. So same thing, lift yourself up. You'll have to engage the abs a bit now because we've actually got some anti-extension happening. We've now got a longer lever, so the abs will kick in. And slightly roll off to the side. So we're getting that musculature down the side of the lumbar spine, that thick erector spinae. Not so much just hanging on the spine where you're not doing much. Right, so get over onto the side, dig in a bit, right, and then switch sides. Okay, so that's the difference between, when we do our foam rolling, the difference between doing our thoracic extensions and our upper back and lower back soft tissue work.